You know, it's absolutely shocking that perhaps the most important document you need to propel your career forward, that's your CV, well, we never get any real training for. And don't you just hate the fact that almost all the help and advice about writing a CV is pretty bland and ineffective? The fact is, even the people you would hope know how to write one, those are schools, colleges, HR professionals, or even career advisors, well, most of them just haven't got a clue. I'm James Foster, and careers matter. And today I'm going to talk to you about the 3 big mistakes you make with your CV that's killing your chance of getting a job. So let's start by briefly talking about what your CV is for. Why do you need one in the first place? Your CV has only one purpose, and that is to grab the attention of the reader and to leave them wanting to know more about you and therefore to offer you an interview. That's it, and that's all it's for. You are not going to get a job through your CV. You get a job through an interview process. You get to the interview process through your CV. Now turning to those 3 big mistakes, and these are in no particular order. So many of the CVs that I see are far too long and far too detailed. Remember that the purpose is to grab attention, and you won't do that if you present the reader with their own copy of War and Peace to get through. Your CV should be succinct and very easy to read. The hiring manager is probably going to go through 10 or 20 CVs, and if you make them work too hard to find the information they need, well, you lose. You get about 20 seconds to grab attention. If you don't do it in that time, your CV won't get a second glance. So make it short, concise, and impactful. So just to add a little bit more to this, there are a number of people that think it's okay to cram the page using small fonts and fill in every square centimetre of the page so that there's hardly any white left to see. But if they can keep it on 2 to 3 pages, then it's okay, isn't it? Well, it's really not. It comes back to readability and ease of finding the essential information you want to get across. Your CV is a sales brochure, pure and simple. Look at how sales brochures are laid out and how the salient bits shout off the page to you. That's what you need your CV to do. Now turning to the second big thing, and this is about the CV content. You may think this is simple. It's a chronology of your working life, isn't it? And it details your skills and experience, right? Well, yeah, sort of. The CV should have all those components, but the big mistake is thinking that's all it should have. In fact, your CV should be less about function and skill and more about your achievements. That is, what you've done with those skills that has had an impact. If all your CV says about you is that you are a project manager and that you've managed projects, it's not saying very much at all, is it? And it's certainly not telling the reader why they should be interested in you over any other project manager managing projects. It's really important that you include wow factor. That is, examples of what you have achieved that get people sitting up and paying attention. And this comes from how you have impacted the companies that you've worked for. To add a little more to this, wow factor comes from the value that you have added, and that is about how you have impacted the bottom line of a business, how you have helped to make money or to save money. It's important then that your achievements are quantified in some way to show the value that you've added. For example, turning around a failing project and saving the business from having to pay damages or saving the revenues from that particular client. I don't intend going into a lot of detail here. I do that in my online training course. But for the purposes of this video, it's important to realise you have to make them want to know more. And finally then, turning to the third big mistake. And this is where people just don't make their CV as relevant to the role as they possibly can and really should. They go for a one-size-fits-all generic CV approach, and this means they miss the chance to actually walk the reader through why they are the right person for this role. Every time you put your CV forward for a job, you need to make it as relevant as possible to that job, and to make sure that every aspect of the job requirement is covered in your CV. This is where you do need to pay attention to making sure that you've covered off the skills required, the right job title, the certification and training that you may be needing, but also that the stories, these are your achievements, that you have in your CV reflect the purpose of the job that you're applying for. Don't leave the reader guessing or having to dig around and see if it's there. Make it very clear. The front page of your CV is where you do most of the selling. This is the bit the reader looks at first, and you get about 20 seconds to make an impression. And it's the front page where you have to make it. Make sure that your front page tells people why you are the right person for them and to make them want to know more so that they offer you an interview.
Right then, today we have looked at the 3 big mistakes that you're making on your CV that are outright killing your chances of landing the job that you really want. And if you're guilty of a CV that's too long, not achievement focused, or not tailored to the job, well, let's be clear, your CV isn't going to perform the way that you need it to. Simple as that, really. With these mistakes, you're not in control. You're not getting the interviews for the jobs that you're really, truly passionate about. You're just getting what comes your way. And that's not how you achieve career success. But what if I told you, well, there's a solution. A way to not only overcome these mistakes, but to master the art of job applications. That's where the Ultimate CV Guide comes in. This isn't just a guide, it's your roadmap to taking control of your career. The guide goes beyond the basics of CV writing. It encompasses your LinkedIn profile, your cover letter, and your video profile. It's about building your CV in a way that ensures you are in the driver's seat of your career. With the Ultimate CV Guide, you're not just avoiding mistakes, you're setting new standards for your professional profile. You're ensuring that your application doesn't just avoid the no pile, but that it lands right on top of the yes stack. If you're ready to stop leaving your career to chance and start targeting the jobs that you actually want with a salary and respect you really deserve, then the Ultimate CV Guide is your first step. And here's what you do next. Scroll down to step 2 and sign up to get your hands on this game-changing guide. Make sure your CV sets you apart from the crowd and doesn't land you buried in the middle of it. And if you're watching on YouTube, well, click the link to the Ultimate CV Guide in the description below, right now. Let's start this journey of career transformation together. It's time to move beyond and into strategic action. Your career mastery awaits. This is James Foster, and this is the Career Mastery Revolution.